Desperate for safety, she approached the Mafia boss. What happened next transformed 100 lives. The streets of Chicago's forgotten neighborhoods whispered stories of struggle and desperation. For Michelle, a 35-year-old single mother, those whispers were a daily chorus. Crumbling buildings towered like giants over her, casting long shadows that echoed the sirens blaring in the night. The air was thick with tension, and each day felt like a battle. Her two young kids, Mia and Jacob, clung to her side, and Michelle fought to carve a life for them amidst the chaos. Working as a waitress, her meager salary barely covered the essentials, yet somehow she managed to smile through it all. Each meal they shared a small victory. But that fragile peace shattered one summer evening. A stray bullet whizzed through the air, a terrifying reminder of the violence that lurked just around the corner. Michelle's heart raced as she crouched low, pulling her children close, her mind screaming that this couldn't be their story. Thoughts of a peaceful life felt impossible, and that night, in the stillness that followed the chaos, despair washed over her like a cold wave. Within moments, she found herself contemplating a choice that would shake the very foundation of her values. That night, Michelle made a decision. Desperation drove her down the dark alleys, her feet guided by the faint glow of streetlights, her heart pounding in her chest. She sought out Salvatore, the infamous Mafia boss, with a reputation that struck fear into the hearts of locals. He was known for his ruthless ways, but also for funding community projects, a cruel irony that twisted her gut. Was safety worth the price of her soul? As she stepped into the dimly lit space where Salvatore held court, the atmosphere was thick with unease. The walls seemed to swallow her hope, but a flicker of determination ignited within her. For her kids, for the life she dreamed of, she had to try. Their eyes met her pleading gaze against his cold, calculating stare. Would he listen? Could he help? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications, so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In that moment, tension crackled like electricity. Michelle's heart raced as she considered the cost of his protection. Would her request implicate her in his web of crime? Would she go home with answers, or just a haunting burden? Around her, shadows stirred. Her neighbors, many of whom had once been comrades, now watched silently, eyes filled with their own fears and hopes. Fear twisted in her stomach, yet brave resolve rose within her. She could not let this be the end. Just when she thought she'd found a solution, the room shifted, whispered conversations looming like storm clouds. Salvatore was known for his power, but what if he expected more than just gratitude? The community, her family, and her very soul were at stake. The path ahead was foggy, danger lurking behind every corner. Would they turn their backs on their values for the chance at safety? As Michelle stood alone in the storm, the weight of every choice began to crush her. Yet, fire ignited in her heart. This could be the turning point. The winds of change gusted wildly, and Michelle prepared to rise up against the shadows, clutching her children's hands tightly, as she stepped forward into an uncertain future. Would their collective strength be enough to ignite a spark of hope against the encroaching darkness? As the silence enveloped the room, Michelle felt the heat of Salvatore's gaze pierce through her. Every second stretched, every heartbeat seemed to echo in her ears. She knew time was running out. A group of men leaned against a wall, their eyes cold and calculating, waiting like vultures for their next meal. Anxiety gnawed at her, but she couldn't let it show. Salvatore, she started, her voice steadier than she felt. I need help. My kids, we're not safe. I'll do whatever it takes. His lips curled into a slight grin, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Whatever it takes. That's an interesting promise from someone like you. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to fill the air. What are you willing to sacrifice? Michelle's mind raced. She thought of Mia, with her innocent laughter, and Jacob, who looked up at her with such trust. I'm not asking for much. Just protection. A little peace for my family. From the corner, one of the men chuckled, a harsh sound that sent a shiver down her spine. Peace. In this neighborhood. You must be dreaming, lady. Biting back her fear, Michelle pressed on. I know that means something to you. You've been known to help out families in trouble. I'm asking you to be that man for us, for the kids in this community. Salvatore studied her, his expression unreadable. He was a king in this world, ruling with both an iron fist and an unexpected touch of cunning. You think you can just waltz in here and demand favors? What's in it for me? I can work for you. I can help, she said, feeling desperate yet resolute. I'm a hard worker. I know this neighborhood like the back of my hand. I won't let you down. His brow arched with interest. Work for me? That's bold. Her heart raced. Could this arrangement turn dangerous? But she felt a spark of something, a flicker of hope, that ignited each time she pictured her children safe. I'll do my best. I'll find ways to bring in new business, keep everyone happy. I can be an asset. The tension in the air grew thick as Salvatore shifted in his chair, contemplating her words. Michelle could feel the gazes of the others drilling into her. Would he take her up on her offer, or would she go home empty-handed, risking everything? At that moment, she noticed a woman across the room step forward, a brave smile breaking through her otherwise anxious demeanor. Don't listen to them, Michelle. We all know what this place needs. We just need unity. That voice, filled with raw courage, sent a rush of warmth through Michelle. It was a reminder that in moments of darkness, community could be a fortress. Others murmured agreement, a wave of solidarity swelling in the crowd. Salvatore leaned forward, intrigued though non-committal. Unity interesting. But I don't offer charity, love. You've got to prove yourself first. With his eyes narrowing, he added, how about an initiation? Show me your worth if you're so eager to help. Fear gripped Michelle's heart again. What did that mean? What dangerous door was she willing to open? But it was clear she was at a crossroads, and there was no turning back. Okay, she whispered, feeling the weight of not only her fate, but the fate of her entire community resting on her shoulders. What could her initiation entail? And at what cost, as she faced this new reality, with the shadows of both allies and enemies swirling around her, one thought pierced through, was her determination strong enough to brave the dangers ahead? A bond formed amongst them, but with it, risk and uncertainty. Would it forge a new direction, or would their hopes breed disaster? There was only one way to find out. The room seemed to tilt on its axis as Michelle braved Salvatore's stare. Every second felt like an eternity, and her heart drummed a relentless beat of anxiety against her ribs. The murmurs of the crowd faded into a dull hum, and all she could focus on was the potential danger lurking behind the promises she had just made. Salvatore's lips stretched into a grin, a hint of amusement lighting his eyes. All right, Michelle. Let us see what you're made of. I want you to deliver a message. Her throat went dry. A message? Simple. We have a rival crew moving in trying to shake things up in our territory, he explained casually, as if discussing the weather. I need to make sure they remember who's in charge. Take this envelope to our friend, Adrian. He slid a thick envelope toward her. The weight of it felt ominous in her hands. Adrian's place is just a few blocks away. He's not the friendliest. Be careful about what you say. Michelle hesitated. And if he doesn't take it kindly? Salvatore leaned back, his amusement growing. Well, that's part of your initiation. Face your fears, or cower like those men behind you. His gaze flicked to the group of men, who watched her with a mix of indifference and curiosity. A lump formed in her throat. She had come here for safety, for her children. Now she was being thrust into this world, a world of danger she had tried so hard to protect them from. But the thought of failing them fueled her resolve. She had to do this. For them. I'll go, she said, her voice stronger this time, driven by the urgency of her mission. Good girl, Salvatore replied, a satisfied look on his face. And remember, Michelle. You might be working for me now, but you're still in this game to protect your family. Don't lose sight of that. As she stepped out into the street, her heart raced. The cool evening breeze was a stark contrast to the stifling air inside the room. She took a deep breath and focused on the destination. The neighborhood felt different now. The walls that once protected her felt hostile. She walked quickly, each step echoing the determination coursing through her veins. She could imagine Mia and Jacob's faces, bright with laughter and mischievous energy, needing her resolve. When she reached Adrian's place, the building loomed above her, its walls a peeling gray. She took a moment outside to steady her breathing, knowing that the next few moments could change everything. She couldn't show weakness. She couldn't let fear take the lead. She rapped her knuckles against the door, the sound reverberating through her. Almost immediately, it swung open, revealing a man with a hardened gaze and a tattooed arm crossed over his chest. What do you want? He asked, his tone sharp like a knife. I'm here to deliver a message, Michelle stated, holding the envelope out toward him. Her heart thundered in her ears, and she willed her hands to remain steady. Adrian's eyes narrowed as he took the envelope. He tore it open and scanned its contents, his expression unreadable. A moment of silence passed between them, the tension thickening the air. Salvatore thinks he can still control this turf. Adrian muttered, shaking his head. Let him know that he is mistaken. If he wants to play, I'm ready for a real game. His eyes met hers, and Michelle felt a chill run down her spine. Get back to him, and tell him I'm coming for what is mine. And don't think he can hide behind you, Adrian warned, his voice low and menacing. Michelle's throat tightened, but she nodded. As she walked away, the weight of his threat settled over her like a dark cloud. What had she just gotten herself into? The stakes felt higher, and now, she had to worry about more than just her own safety. She had unleashed a bigger war. Back at the meeting place, Salvatore waited, his expression calculating. As she approached, clutching her racing heart, she knew she was standing at the edge of something treacherous. Adrian's reaction? Salvatore asked, his eyes drilling into her. Not friendly, Michelle replied, forcing herself to meet his gaze. Salvatore's smile returned, revealing a glimpse of admiration. Looks like you might have more guts than I expected. But understand this, Michelle. You've crossed a threshold now, and there's no way but forward. The magnitude of her decision pressed on her like a weight. In the heart of danger, had she found her strength, or had she simply ignited a fire she couldn't extinguish? What awaited her on the other side of this initiation? And how far would she be willing to go to protect her family? The tension in the air felt electric as Michelle processed Salvatore's words. She had stepped into a world she barely understood, a dangerous dance where missteps could cost her everything. The thought of her children tugged at her heart, grounding her even as her mind spun with uncertainty. Forward, she whispered under her breath, the word a reminder pushing her onward. She had never envisioned her life spiraling into these shadows, yet here she was, embroiled in a turf battle that seemed to matter so little against the bright lives of Mia and Jacob. Get used to it, Salvatore urged, snapping her back to the present. The moment you stepped into that room, you went from victim to player. You must own it. Michelle swallowed hard, the lump in her throat multiplying with the weight of his expectations. What do I do now? The question felt silly, but the reality was suffocating. Salvatore shrugged. You might be all in or just passing through, but there's no halfway here. You've got to prove you belong. Next, I need you to gather intelligence on Adrian. Find out what his crew is planning, and see if they are really a threat, or just barking mad. She nodded, piecing together her next move. How do I do that? Use your charm, he said with that smirk again, a reminder of how different their worlds were. It's a gift. Just make sure not to let them in too close. It's easy to get lost in the darkness. With every word, her heart raced faster, the irony heavy on her chest. She was to charm a man who had threatened her. Yet, fear began mingling with courage, igniting a spark she had never known existed in her. As she left Salvatore's realm and stepped back into the street, the city felt alive with possibility. Each corner hid secrets, and she realized she now had a different lens through which to view her surroundings. This was survival, a lesson she was learning far too quickly. The fading sunlight cast shadows that stretched and knotted around her, mirroring her conflicted feelings. She approached the coffee shop she often passed, but never dared to enter. With a deep breath, she pushed open the door, the bell chiming above her a cue for a new start. Inside, the familiar aroma of espresso struck her senses, like a warm embrace. She spotted a table near the window and took a seat, scanning the room. A few patrons were lost in their own worlds, but one man stood out, a rugged figure nursing a drink, his face partially hidden under a broad-brimmed hat. Something about him ignited both fear and curiosity. "Coffee's on me," she told the barista, easing into the moment. "Make it strong." She remembered what Salvatore had said. If she was to survive, she needed to gather information. Not through brute force, but through connections. "Hey, mind if I join you?" she asked the man at the table, offering an easy smile as she approached. As he looked up, surprise flickered in his eyes, revealing a wariness she recognized all too well. "What is your business?" he asked bluntly. "Just looking for a friendly face." The man laughed, a low, throaty sound that didn't quite reach his eyes. "In here. Good luck." She resisted the urge to retreat, but leaned against the edge of his table, a calculated risk. "I've heard you guys know a thing or two about what's happening around here." His brow knitted as he studied her, and in that silence, she felt a part of her yearning for acceptance. "Depends on who asks and why," he replied, his voice gravelly. Her pulse quickened. This was it. If she played this right, she could learn more than just gossip. She could gather the intel that could save her family and maybe even herself. What did he know? How much could she pull from him without giving too much of herself away? She couldn't show weakness. She was already in too deep. And just as she was gathering her thoughts, ready to dive in deeper, the door swung open, revealing a heavyset man dressed in black. The atmosphere shifted instantly, drawing Michelle's attention like a magnet. "Adrian's looking for someone," he announced, scanning the room. Michelle's heart dropped. Had she just stepped onto a battleground? Would she have to decide between fleeing or standing her ground? She could sense the tension thrumming in the air, a palpable reminder that every choice she made could lead her deeper into a dangerous web. Before the next moment unfolded, the question was clear. Would she dare to fight? Or would she run at the first sign of danger? Michelle felt frozen, her breath hitching in her throat. The man in black's presence felt like a storm cloud hovering over her head, threatening to unleash chaos at any moment. As he scanned the coffee shop, she quickly tucked her hair behind her ear, trying to blend into the background. Fear clawed at her insides like a wild animal, urging her to escape. But the stakes had never been higher. Her children's safety depended on her, and she couldn't run now. The rugged man across the table watched her, his brow furrowed deeper as the tension thickened. Did he know Adrian? Did he already suspect why she was really there? She needed to act fast. "Hey, friend," she said, forcing her voice to remain steady. "What can you tell me about Adrian? Is he really that dangerous?" His eyes narrowed. "What is it to you?" Michelle hesitated. Uncertainty fluttered inside her like a frightened bird. But the consequences of not pressing forward felt much worse. "I have a friend who might be in trouble," she lied, hoping to capture his sympathy. "I just want to know if he is truly a threat." The man tapped a finger against the table, weighing her words. She could feel Adrian's lackey's gaze drifting over their table, irritation brewing as he stood still. "You don't want to tangle with Adrian," he replied, his voice low and thoughtful. "He is not just running a crew, he runs the city, his tentacles reach everywhere. You cross him, you're marked." The weight of his words settled over her like a heavy blanket. "But surely he has to have a weakness." A flicker of amusement danced in the man's eyes, but he quickly covered it. "Everyone has a weakness. But playing with them isn't he smart?" Michelle bit her lip. "What if I told you I can help him? That I can be useful?" The man leaned in slightly, his curiosity piqued. "As long as you're not playing with fire, what can you offer?" "Information," she said, heart pounding. "I have access to people not in the game, but on the fringes. I hear things." The rugged man studied her for a long moment, then smirked. "You're either very brave, or very foolish." "Maybe a bit of both," she replied, trying to mask her fear with confidence. At that moment, the heavyset man in black stepped forward, and she felt her body tense again, like tightening strings ready to snap. "Enough chit-chat. Adrian, isn't he a patient man? Either move along or face the consequences." Michelle's mind raced. If she backed down now, would this be the last chance? She had to gather information to save her family. "Wait," she blurted out, her courage bubbling to the surface. "I want to meet him." The barista walked by, pouring a fresh cup of coffee, yet the world around Michelle felt muted, only the heartbeat thumping loudly in her ears. She focused on the man's expression, hoping to see encouragement, or a glimmer of respect. His laughter echoed in the small cafe. "You think you can just walk into the lion's den?" "Yes," she said, gaining momentum. "If there is a way for me to be useful to him, why not?" The man leaned back, considering her. "You must be one hell of a gambler, lady." "I just want my children safe," she replied, the urgency palpable in her voice. "And I will do whatever it takes." A silence hung between them, heavy with her confession. Would he recognize the raw determination in her eyes? In that moment, the rugged man finally leaned closer, eyes gleaming with interest. "All right. I'll set up a meeting. But you're on your own. Just remember, once you enter Adrian's world, you can't walk out unscathed." A mix of relief and anxiety flooded through her. The meeting could fracture her world even further, or it could be the key to survival. As she stood to leave, heart racing, the man extended a hand. "I'm Mike. If you get in too deep, don't forget there are people watching your back." She shook his hand, feeling the weight of camaraderie within it. "Thank you." With that, she exited the coffee shop into the pulsating rhythm of the city, the sun dipping below the horizon. The air felt thick with anticipation. Adrian awaited, and she was heading straight into the lion's den. Would she turn out to be the pride's fearless leader, or would she become just another casualty in his ruthless game? The street was dim, the glow of neon lights flickering above her like uncertain stars. Michelle wrapped her arms around herself, trying to summon warmth that evaded her. Her heart raced as she walked, each step echoing a silent prayer for her children's safety. What had she gotten herself into by agreeing to meet Adrian? Every shadow felt alive, every backward glance fueled her paranoia. The world of crime was as foreign to her as the depths of the ocean, and yet here she was, ready to dive into its darkest currents. She arrived at an unassuming building at the edge of town, a disconnected storefront that blended seamlessly with the dereliction around it. A small sign with the name Rook's Lounge hung crookedly above the door. She hesitated before entering, weighing her ambition against the fear that clawed at her heart. But thoughts of her children quickly pushed her forward. Inside, the lounge was dimly lit, with plush booths and scattered patrons who seemed caught in their own worlds. The air was thick with the smell of smoke and whiskey, coated in a layer of secrets. A band played soothing jazz in the corner, but every note sent chills down her spine. Michelle approached the bar, her palms sweaty against the cool surface. She spotted a well-dressed man leaning against it, his posture relaxed, but his eyes scanning the room like a hawk. Could this be her connection to Adrian? "Are you looking for someone?" he asked, his voice smooth but carrying an edge. "Yes," she stammered, her throat dry. "I'm here to see Adrian." Instead of laughter, the man raised an eyebrow and nodded towards a door at the back. "Go on. He's expecting you." The words ignited fire in her belly. She was in. But for how long? Her heart thudded loudly in her chest as she made her way to the door, each step heavy with trepidation. Pushing it open, she found herself in a private room, dimly lit, where Adrian sat behind a round table, flanked by two imposing figures. A man with a slicked-back hairstyle, and a woman with fiery red lips stared back at her. "Welcome," Adrian drawled, folding his hands in front of him. There was an air of control about him, charisma wrapped in danger. "I hear you want to be useful." Michelle swallowed hard, trying to keep her voice steady. "I do. I know things. I can help you." His gaze sparkled with intrigue, but she could sense the skepticism behind it. "What makes you think you can touch my empire without getting burned?" "I want to play games," she replied, steadier than she felt. "I'm not here for power. I'm here for my family." Adrian leaned back, a grin curling his lips. "Family, a noble motive, but this world isn't kind to idealists. You think you can survive the storm? I have to." The truth poured out, raw and unrefined. "I can do whatever it takes." He leaned forward, twisting a glass between his fingers. "Prove it." His words were a challenge, a promise that everything was about to change. Before she could respond, the man on Adrian's left spoke. "Let us see what you can offer, but be warned, failure here comes with consequences you can't imagine." As the weight of their scrutiny intensified, she felt her resolve hardening. This was it. Either she would find a way to protect her children, or she would lose herself entirely in this twisted game. "Tell me what you need," she said, voice stronger now, feeling as if she stood at the edge of an abyss, ready to leap. Adrian's eyes glinted with amusement. "Every choice has a price, Michelle. Are you ready for yours?" Her breath caught in her throat as she realized she was in deeper than she ever thought possible. Did she really have what it took to play this game? Or was she about to make the biggest mistake of her life? And then something whispered in the back of her mind, a reminder of what was at stake. Would she gamble everything for the chance to save her family? Michelle's heart pounded in rhythm with the jazz playing softly in the background. She felt like a moth drawn to a flame, each moment pulling her closer to the inevitable burn. Adrian leaned back, a predatory smile on his face, and she sensed the weight of the decision about to unfold. "What do you bring to the table?" he asked, his tone laced with challenge, as if daring her to hesitate. I've got information, she replied, feeling a mix of desperation and strength curl in her chest. I know things about the neighborhood, the gangs, their movements. I hear things. Adrian's amusement deepened, and he glanced at his companions, both of whom seemed unamused. Interesting tactic for a novice, he said slowly. But let us be honest, information is everywhere. What makes yours special? The air felt thick as Michelle considered her next words. She had to pull something from the depths of her memory, the pieces of truth she had gathered while struggling to care for her children. I know where the police are focusing their efforts, she ventured. I know who's crossing into rival territories, and who's feuding. I can keep you one step ahead, and I want nothing but a safe path for my kids. Adrian's eyes narrowed, the glinting amusement fading. And you expect me to trust an outsider with such valuable intel? Your words could land us in serious trouble. She swallowed hard, feeling the desperation clawing at her throat. I don't need to be inside your world to see what is happening around me. I know fear, I know hardship. The kids, they deserve better than this chaos. The two figures beside Adrian shifted slightly, their expressions morphing into mild curiosity, and Adrian leaned forward, intrigued. Fear is a powerful motivator, Michelle. But one wrong step, and you'll be out of this game. Permanently. She nodded, her throat tight. I'm ready for whatever it takes. Just tell me what I need to do. Prove it. Make a connection for us, find out who's moving large shipments in and out lately. If your intel checks out, we'll talk business. Michelle felt an electric charge shoot through her. Was this what she wanted? To dive deeper into the murky waters? The thought hung heavy, but she reminded herself of her mission. Consider it done, she said, feeling more certain. Good, Adrian said, settling back in his seat. And one last thing, if I discover you've played me, the consequences won't just affect you. They'll affect your family, too. The weight of his words wrapped around her like shackles, sending a chill down her spine. She nodded, knowing she was treading a line she could barely see. Now, Adrian continued, a smirk returning, you'll need a way to gain access to those who know more than your average citizens. It won't come cheap or easy. She straightened her back, determination washing over her. I can handle it. Just tell me where to start. He laughed softly, and there was a darkness behind that laughter, one that sent unease lapping at her heart. You will need to go to East Side Junction. The information there is classic. Find Charlie. Be careful, he's not as friendly as he used to be. Michelle nodded, though a tremor of doubt trickled in. And if I succeed? If you succeed, we talk again, he replied, waving a dismissive hand. Just remember, the moment you step out that door, it's your life you're betting on. Good luck. As she walked out of the room, the jazz music faded behind her, leaving only the echo of her weakened resolve. Outside Rook's lounge, the neon lights now looked less like stars and more like warnings. Each step she took stirred doubts, mixed feelings swirling within her mind. Could she really do this? Could she dance with danger for the sake of her children? The street felt colder as she processed her thoughts. Fear chased her, but with it, a flicker of hope. She had a mission now, one that could either redirect her family's fate, or plunge them into deeper despair. As she walked towards her uncertain future, adrenaline coursed through her veins. What she didn't know was that this would be just the beginning of an entangled web that could change everything. The question lingered in her mind, would her gamble pay off, or would she awaken a force stronger than she could control? The streets felt foreign, each shadow lurking as if they had their own purpose, their own secrets. Michelle tightened her coat around her, trying to shield herself from the chill that seemed to seep through her bones. She had briefed herself before stepping out, trying to drown out the fear with thoughts of her children and the life she wished for them. One foot in front of the other, she balanced on the thin line between hope and desperation. East Side Junction loomed ahead, its graffiti-covered walls standing as a testament to a life that thrived in the chaos. The sounds of muffled voices and occasional laughter echoed from nearby alleys, a stark contrast to the silence hanging over her heart. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back, but she pressed on, feeling the weight of her choice pressing against her chest. Finding Charlie Walden to be like calling a friend. She had heard stories, grimy accounts filled with fear and respect. She needed a plan, a way to approach him without appearing vulnerable. Information was currency here, but it was value tailored to risk, and every deal came at a price. As each step brought her closer to the junction, she mentally rehearsed her lines, reminding herself that her family's safety depended on this encounter. The intersection was alive, the flickering streetlights casting eerie shadows as a couple of men leaned against a rusted pickup, taking quick puffs from cigarettes. Their laughter was blunt and loud, but a hint of attention flickered in their eyes as she approached. Anxiety twisted her stomach, yet she held her head high, refusing to show fear. "Charlie," she called, her voice steadier than she felt. It came out smaller than she'd hoped, but it was enough. The laughter ceased, and the men exchanged glances. One gestured her forward, curiosity painted across his features. "What do you want?" "I need to speak with Charlie," she insisted. "It's important." "Charlie doesn't just talk to anyone." The man leaned in closer, assessing her, as if calculating how much of a threat she might be. "Tell him it's about the shipment." The words tumbled out before she could overthink them, each syllable wrapped in nervous determination. Eyes narrowed, the man turned and disappeared into a doorway slightly ajar, leaving her to the stale air thick with smoke and suspicion. Doubts crawled around her mind. What if she was walking into a trap? What if her kids had to pay for her mistakes? Panic rose, but it was silenced quickly by a power she hadn't felt before. Moments passed like hours, but she focused on her breathing, visualizing her children playing, laughing, living without the fear that plagued her daily. Finally, the door creaked open, revealing a small, shadowy figure. "Who sent you?" Charlie's voice was gravelly, his gaze sharp and dissecting as he leaned against the frame, an unlit cigarette dangling from his lips. "Adrian," she said, mustering every ounce of courage. "He needs intel on shipments." Charlie chuckled, the sound rough and uninviting. "You think you can just waltz in here with names and expect trust? What makes you special?" Tension hung between them, and she felt small beneath his scrutinous glare. "I know more than you think about the game being played here," she replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. "I come without the games. Just the truth." He studied her for a long moment, eyes flickering with something, a calculation, maybe. "Let us say I believe you. What do you know?" Her pulse quickened. This was at the edge of a knife, one that could slice her past and future apart. She took a deep breath, her resolve tightening. "I know where the most recent shipments are headed. I can help you stay ahead of the rivals." The words rushed out, a flood of honesty interlaced with her desperation. Charlie's brows lifted, intrigued now. "You're risking a lot, lady, and for what?" "For my kids. A life that doesn't include this mess," she said, feeling the swell of her heart echoing in her chest. He pondered her words, the silence heavy with expectation. "Follow me," Charlie finally said, stepping aside. As she crossed the threshold, she knew there was no turning back now. This step could be her salvation, or her doom. She could only wonder, had she just stepped into a world that would change everything? Or was she about to unleash a tide of trouble that could destroy her family? The air inside was stifling, heavy with the scent of sweat and smoke. Shadows danced across the walls, cast by a flickering bulb swinging from the ceiling. Michelle felt her chest tighten further as Charlie led her deeper into the cluttered room, where old crates and discarded furniture created a maze of memories and lost dreams. "Sit," he commanded, pointing to a rickety chair that barely seemed stable. She took it, feeling the roughness of the wood against her skin. The atmosphere buzzed with unspoken tension, and she could feel eyes watching her from dark corners. Charlie leaned against a desk piled high with paperwork. "So, what do you really know?" His voice was low and gruff, but there was an undercurrent of curiosity that pierced the facade. She hesitated, a swift wave of doubt crashing over her resolve. "I know they are moving goods through the docks in the dead of night. Things that shouldn't be in the open. But if you don't choose your next steps carefully, you'll lose everything: money, respect, and even your people." He raised an eyebrow. Interest sparkled in his eyes. "Go on." "There's a shipment coming in tomorrow," she pressed on, the words spilling out as the fear of failure flickered beneath surface. "I can tell you the route and the guard placements. You can intercept it before it reaches them. You'll be one step ahead." For a moment, the room was quiet, the weight of her revelation hanging heavily in the air. Charlie studied her as if weighing her very soul. She clenched her fists, willing herself not to shrink under his penetrating gaze. "You're risking a lot for a family you're desperate to save," he said eventually, his tone softer, almost contemplative. "But who's to say I don't double-cross you after this?" A pit formed in her stomach. "Because I'm not here to play games. I'm offering you a chance to come out on top, and that's a deal worth something, isn't it?" Charlie leaned closer, a smirk creeping along his lips. "You're bold. I like that in a person." She didn't know whether to feel relieved or terrified. "Please," she pressed, desperation rising in her chest. "My kids, they need their mother." At the mention of her children, his expression shifted slightly. For a fleeting instant, she thought she saw something soften in his eyes, a glimpse of understanding perhaps. "Family can blur the lines, can't it?" he mused. "But if you're lying, it won't just be you who pays the price." "I'm not lying," she snapped, the urgency spilling from her lips. "I swear it." He studied her for what felt like an eternity, then finally nodded. "All right. I'll give you a chance. But know this, Michelle, if it goes south." He trailed off, leaving the threat to linger in the air like a shadow. Relief washed over her. "Thank you." It squeaked out, barely above a whisper, but she felt the warmth swelling in her chest. This was a step uncertain, complicated, but it was a step toward the life she longed for. "Meet me here tomorrow night," he instructed. "We'll see if your intel checks out. If it does, we might be able to keep your family safe." As she stood, she felt a spark of hope emerge, tiny and flickering, but there nonetheless. She turned to leave, ready to step back into the chaos outside, but Charlie's voice stopped her. "Hey," he called out, and she felt her heart leap into her throat. "Whatever happens next, keep your head down. Trust no one." The weight of his words seemed to echo around her, as she stepped back into the dim street, the cold air stinging her cheeks. What had she just stepped into? The line had blurred, and the stakes felt dangerously high. But now she had a single focus driving her forward, a tiny thread of hope for her children. Could she navigate this treacherous new world and come out unscathed? Or was she on a path that could destroy everything she loved? Michelle stood on the corner of the street, the chill in the air biting through her coat. She felt the weight of everything pressing down like a lead blanket. Tomorrow night. One night, until she would either secure her children's future, or plunge further into this hell. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. Her heart was a drumbeat of determination, as she replayed each moment in her mind. Tonight, she knew she had to protect her family no matter what it took. The darkness crept around her, mingling with her fears, but she pressed on. Each step brought her closer to a decision that could change everything. The streets were filled with shadows, memories of struggles echoing off the brick walls. Yet amid that darkness, she felt a flicker of hope sparked by the choice she was about to make. At home, Mia and Jacob were snug in their beds, peaceful and innocent. That image fueled the fire in her heart. She had come too far to back down now. She imagined their laughter, their smiles lighting up the darkness. She would fight for that joy. "I won't let you down," she whispered to herself, determination blooming in her chest. The following evening loomed like a storm before the break. As she prepared to meet Charlie, she gathered everything she had learned, her nerves wrapping around her like a tight coil, pulsing with readiness. She slipped into the same tattered coat, the weight of hope fighting against fear. She had to trust her instincts. She had to rise to the challenge. As she arrived at East Side Junction, her heart raced. This was it. She took a moment outside, visualizing the children wrapped in their dreams. She would face this world head-on, if it meant bringing safety to them. Stepping inside the same cluttered room where Charlie waited felt like stepping onto a battlefield. Each breath built the tension that lay thick in the air. He was already there, leaning against the cluttered desk, an air of inscrutable power around him. "You have something for me?" he asked, his sharp gaze slicing right through her, making her heartbeat quicken. "Yes," she replied, focus sharpening. "I have confirmed the shipment. They'll be moving goods from the docks at midnight. There's a delivery scheduled from a new supplier. I got the guard details. Their shift changes right when the shipment arrives. There's a chance to hit them at the weakest point." A slow smile spread across Charlie's face, and for the first time, he appeared more intrigued than cautious. "And you're willing to share that intel, knowing the stakes?" "For the safety of my kids, yes," she said, each word fueled by the fierce love for her children. He chuckled, a rich sound that lingered in the stillness. "You're starting to understand the game, Michelle. But who knows? You may just as easily be a pawn." "I won't be a pawn," she insisted, determination seeping into her voice. "I have everything to fight for." He studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Fine. If you can work this correctly, and get the intel you promised, I might be able to help." Hope flickered in her chest like a small flame. "What do you need me to do?" she asked, ready to rise to the occasion. "There's a crew walking the dark alleys, their reputation increasing," Charlie explained. "Stick close to them, get a grasp on their schedule, and find out who leads them. You'll need to gather more than just surface info. They are slippery, don't let them see you coming." Her heart pounded. The risk was immense, but she had already walked this path. "I can do it," she vowed, her heart beating fiercely in her chest. "Meet me back here tomorrow night with what you find," he instructed. "If you don't show, it'll be bad news for you and your kids." The weight of those words sunk in, a reminder of the danger ahead. "I will be here." She stepped back, holding the tension of the moment tightly in her chest, and as she turned to leave, something changed. She felt different, as if the fire within her had grown hotter, illuminating the path forward. There was a strength she didn't know she had. Later that night, alone in her apartment, she whispered promises to her sleeping children, their tranquil faces calming her racing heart. "I'm doing this for you," she vowed. "Your safety, your future. I won't let fear take me down." Over the next few days, she utilized every ounce of courage she could muster. She observed the shadows filling the alleys, the hurried whispers in the dark. More than intel, this was becoming a mission, a fight not just for survival, but for something greater. The thrill of the chase mingled with her despair, igniting a sense of purpose. When the time came for her next meeting with Charlie, she didn't walk in timidly. She walked in as a warrior with information that could change everything. She stood before him, unwavering, breathing in every moment of this dangerous dance. "Charlie," she started, meeting his gaze with fierce resolve. "I've got intel on the rival crew. Let us end this madness once and for all." Adrian had created chaos that threatened her community, and this was her stand against it. "Now we're talking," Charlie replied, and beneath the shadows of danger and crime, a bond began to form, not just out of fear, but out of shared purpose. The battle ahead was big, but today, she reclaimed the control she thought she'd lost. As Michelle prepared to face whatever lay ahead, a familiar sound graced her ears. Mia and Jacob's laughter floated through her mind, an echoing reminder of what mattered, and so the battle continued, but this time, she was a part of it, a force of nature rising from the chaos, ready to stand tall with all she had. This is the moment she found her calling, one that could end the storm, lift the shadows, and transform their world. Now was not just a turning point. It was the beginning of her fight for a better life, one step closer to reclaiming hope and safety. And somewhere in the distance, beneath the power of choice, lay a bond strong enough to shield them all. Let this mark the day the tides began to shift. And just like Michelle, you too can ignite change in your world. If you want to keep up with stories like this, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for journeys like Michelle's. Leave a like now to help this message reach more ears. Comment below your thoughts on this transformation, and how far you're willing to go for those you love. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel inspired. Everyone needs to see that hope exists, even in the darkest times.